Welcome to part 2. Thank you so much for joining us again. I hope you really enjoyed exploring all of the amazing resources that were made available to you in the previous video. I hope that you found something useful and that you've used it to enhance the conversations that you're having at home. And I hope that your experience of these conversations is improving the more you try things, the more you experiment, and your connection with your child is also growing and improving as well. So let's continue. This time in part 2, we're going to be looking at some of the more conceptual building blocks that's related to our units of inquiry, but we have even more resources for you to explore and make use of and use to enhance the quality of the conversations that you're having at home about students learning. So first of all, we're going to be looking at the central idea and how you can use it to help extend or to help students tune in at the beginning of a unit. We're going to be looking at key concepts, which will soon be known as specified concepts, and how you can use those. You're going to be looking at how you can help your child explore the lines of inquiry safely. And we're going to be looking at the learner profile and how you can develop these identities in your child. Okay, without anything more, let's get going.
Okay, back up to the top now. Central idea. How does the central idea guide the learning, and how can I use it to help my child tune in and extend their learning? So firstly, we need to understand what a central idea is. So number one here is that it's given in the form of a statement or a thesis. So for our unit, as the example here, the central idea is understanding the factors that impact the body and brain can enable people to take responsibility for their growth. This outlines, number two, it outlines the broad targeted knowledge that we'll be exploring, right? So the impact, or the factors that impact the body and the brain. That's the main topic of knowledge that we are exploring in this unit. It promotes conceptual understanding across multiple subjects. So there's many different factors that could affect the body and the brain, not just nutritional, but also social or environmental. Number four, it's broad enough to support multiple lines of inquiry. There's many different options that we could choose to explore within this central idea. And number five, they are open to multiple interpretations and responses. Different people, different cultures will have different interpretations of this topic. So it's very interesting, and we can go in many different directions according to how the students feel and where their questions take us. So how can I use it to help my child tune in and extend their learning? This is fairly simple, but also very, very important. Usually at the very beginning of a unit of inquiry, you might want to sit down with your child and look through the central idea and pick out some keywords. Once you go through those keywords, maybe just clarifying the understanding of those keywords, and then you dive deeper. Then you're looking for related topics. You're looking for real-world examples. What questions are inspired from these keywords? What comes up? What predictions do they have? Are there any concepts that they need to understand that broadly that's related to this topic? And so just from this one sentence, you can start to dredge up some of the things that might come up in the unit, and this might prime a student for engaging in this topic. It's really useful, very simple, but it goes a long way. Number 5, what are the key concepts, soon to be specified concepts, and what can I do to encourage their use? Well, similar to before, there's amazing resources out there, and here is one from Toddle, a freely available resource that they created by Miss Cindy Blackburn. There's her Twitter handle over there, so you can check her out. But having this here, having this in your home or on your wall, once again, just acts as a visual reminder to talk about it and to make those connections. So I said there, print out the posters, use them to help you with your conversations and grow your own understanding of these key concepts. So here is a document that I use with my students to help them generate questions about a unit of inquiry when we're using our key concepts as a resource to generate questions. And you can do the same thing. So for example, you might see here under form, we're talking about what is it like. So if there are questions related to this kind of key concept, we might ask questions like, what are the bacteria that live inside our guts? What kinds of bacteria are there? We may want to look at function. What is the role of the microbiome in our body? What does it actually do for us? We may go to change and ask some what if questions. What if I only eat cheeseburgers? How will my microbiome change? Okay, and this can be used as a scaffold to help you to generate a whole bunch of questions that students can ask about many, many different topics. These are just some suggestions over here. Feel free to go access this document and use it to help you. And as you understand how these 7 key concepts relate to, again, pretty much every topic in the universe, you will slowly get better at finding questions that connect to these key concepts. Number 6, how can I help my child explore the lines of inquiry at home? So the lines of inquiry are the main sort of guiding posts for teachers and students throughout the unit. They're going to be guiding our content exploration throughout the unit. And a great way to help students with this and engage with this is using questions again to help guide the students through their inquiry. And here's a wonderful bank of questions that you can go to that might be useful for different parts of the inquiry. So you might want to start off your inquiry with a question to the students saying, what do you already know and what might be useful here? Maybe near the middle, you might ask something like, what will you do when you get that answer? So what's your intention for this information? Perhaps you might ask a question a little bit later on about, do you think that the answer is reasonable? Does it actually do what we want it to do, and why? And perhaps when we're reflecting at the end of our inquiry, we might ask, oh, so how did you approach this? What was your method here? Did it work well? Can we make any improvements for later? It's a fantastic resource, and please scroll down through here. This is just number 1. There's 5 principles, and they can just give you some coaching about how to formulate your own really good questions when talking and having conversations with your child about their learning. So please enjoy. So something else that's really, really important when we are thinking about exploring our lines of inquiry is that students need to actually be able to go out and find information for themselves, right? And in that situation, it's really important for us to talk about how to be safe online, talking about digital citizenship and how to find reliable resources and what is ethical use of information. And a fantastic resource, again, for you to explore is this website called Common Sense Education. They have a lot of really fun resources, a lot of mini lessons, a lot of videos, a lot of lists talking about how you can interact with your child and help prepare them for this digitally connected world that we are in right now. So here is one example of helping kids to spot fake news and to decode media messages. You can have these conversations, maybe encouraging healthy skepticism in a child, playing a game when you're watching TV, like spot the ad. Sometimes they're much more subtle than actually coming up and interrupting a TV show. You can explore different sides of a story, discuss fact versus opinion, and choose a variety of sources that they can interact with. Then you can ask them questions about their credibility. So it's just really important to continuously train students, because when they're going through an inquiry-based education and they're asking so many questions, that does mean that they will be exploring the vast expanse of information that exists on the internet. And some of that stuff they need to know how to decide if something is useful information or not. Number 7. So what role does the learner profile play, and how can I develop these identities in my child? So just like before, it's very useful if you have a visual reminder of these things in your home or lying around somewhere, or you have a routine where you go and you reflect on these things regularly. And having these visuals and images will really help you and your child connect to these ideas. So the learner profile is a list of dispositions, a list of ways of being that we are trying to cultivate in the students throughout their PYP and MYP and DP experience. So a great way to do this is, once again, to make connections. Help the students talk about it, help them to reflect on how they are embodying this idea of the IB learner profile, and acknowledge and encourage the students when they are displaying this kind of behavior and characteristics. When they're displaying these dispositions, you want to cultivate that, you want to encourage that. So here's some beautiful posters by Miss Cindy Blackburn from Tuttle that you can use. And let's look at the next slide, because we have some more for you. The next thing that's really important with the learner profile is finding role models. Role models are so valuable to every single human being and every child and their education. And so really going through and looking for role models, people who are displaying these learner profile attributes, and looking at real world examples of these things in action and the impact that it can have on the world.
So here's another wonderful resource from Toddle that goes through a whole bunch of real-world examples of people showing the learner profile and the incredible impact that they have. One thing that I think is really nice about this specific resource is that they go through each person 2 pages at a time with an image, a short story, and then an explanation of how this person's learner profile attribute or disposition is making the world a better place. And it can be very inspirational, and this can really spark an interest in many students. So I highly encourage you to look through this resource as well and build these dispositions in your child. Questions answered. So we first looked at what is a transdisciplinary theme again. Remember, it is the 6 main ideas that encompass all of human knowledge that students learn. We looked at how do subject connections inform our choices and how you can help through discussion at home and making those connections to the subjects. We looked at the ATL skills and how you can build them faster by using visuals and posters and even using thinking routines to guide your conversations. We looked at how does the central idea guide the learning process and how can you use it, and using that by looking for keywords in the central idea and using those to dredge up prior knowledge and questions and predictions in the students' minds when they are starting out a unit. We looked at key concepts and how they can help you to generate questions for the students, or how they can help students generate their own questions. We also looked at how you can explore the lines of inquiry. Again, more amazing questions that you can ask in different parts of their inquiry, as well as how to, or some resources for you to talk about digital citizenship with your child. And lastly, we looked at the learner profile and how they are dispositions that we're trying to cultivate in the students. And we also saw how it's really important to find role models that embody these learner profile attributes so that they can inspire children. So thank you very much. I really appreciate your time. I hope this has been helpful. This was really exciting for me to go and find all of these resources. I think this is a video that's really aimed towards parents, but I think also very useful for teachers. So I'm going to be sharing it with all the teachers that I know. And just remember, you're doing an amazing job. Just the fact that you are willing to learn and that you want to try is absolutely incredible. Keep learning, keep growing, keep having those conversations. All the best. See ya.